Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Thanks for coming back. I've got a special guest today. Should be no stranger to you guys. SK Crypto K. We came together to talk about Elephant again. It's been a couple months since we last spoke. The markets have been crazy. We've had some major up days, major down days, all sorts of crazy stuff with all sorts of different protocols. But Elephant's still standing, still looking solid. So what I wanted to do was bring SK on and just talk about what's happened over the last couple months a little bit, what we can look forward to in the future. I know there's been some changes on the Elephant side. There's, of course, 10 different pieces to the protocol in that ecosystem. And so I wanted to talk through some of the variables that have changed a little bit. And so you guys can be in the know and get primed and ready for what's about to happen next. So welcome to the channel, SK, as always.
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Scott, the investor? How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks again for coming on. I know we've been trying to set this up for the last little while. We were trying to do once a month. I think it's been a couple months since we last spoke. So it's good to finally sync up while both of us are in town and at our computers. And it's good to get back together to talk about Elephant because it's still looking solid. My portfolio, even though it's had some ups and downs, I'm still in a pretty good range on Elephant. So it's making me feel happy knowing that the bull run is right around the corner.
Yeah, especially considering that Elephant token itself is still the number 3 holder of all BNB on chain. And then since we've last spoken, that dark cloud that used to hang over Binance's head, right, with the 4.3 billion settlement and CZ stepping down, Binance has a really bright future. So BNB, man, is going to follow in the coattails of Bitcoin and everything that's going to pop off in the bull. So really exciting times to be positioned in now.
Yeah, I'm actually, frankly, pretty surprised that BNB didn't take a bigger hit during that fiasco, during those announcements. I mean, we saw a pullback, into the high 200s and like the 290 range, but I expected a few more really sharp down days. But I mean, it ripped right back up to 315, 320 in no time. And so that was one thing I was pretty surprised about. And also, that's a crazy stat that it's 1/3 of the BNB holdings. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's wild, man. So I know everyone's excited, for the bull run, and they're chasing everything that they can. But like you said, man, it's the longevity that's going on with Elephant right now. And fun fact: in 2 months, Elephant Money turns 3 years old, which is an eternity in DeFi if you think about it. Yeah,
that's crazy. 3 years old. That's awesome. I mean, it's an eternity in DeFi, and if you look at some of the storms it's weathered, that's pretty impressive because we've had, I'll be the first to admit, and I've told this to you before, after that last major exploit or that first exploit that happened, I was like, man, another one down. I kind of wrote it off as being, we got another exploit. They're going to go back and rebuild, and maybe Bank Teller will come out with a new, different protocol or whatever. But it seemed to weather the storm, build back up. Had a couple major whale drawdowns where some big holders sold off, and then buyers keep coming in. So it's doing very well in terms of DeFi as far as longevity.
Oh gosh, yeah, man. I mean, this style of DeFi, like this little niche that we're in, we've outlived dozens upon dozens of protocols for one, with deeper liquidity than most of them combined, even at their height for two. And then you look at the fact that most recently we had some of the top most humans actually giga dump their bags, yet we're still sitting above $70 million in locked liquidity. I mean, it's just incredible overall.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it was the biggest, most recently, a few weeks ago, right? The biggest single holder, besides Bertha, of course, dumped their bags, right?
Yeah, it was an 8.2 trillion holder that only DCA'd a handful of times. And I guess with all the Bitcoin ETF hype that was coming out, I can only assume that they wanted to position elsewhere. But yeah, man, it's actually, you would think that'd be a huge gut punch, but oddly enough, my first reaction to that was, holy crap, this is actually great for distribution. Bertha actually grew from that volatility, and no one really panic dumped after that 8 trillion sell, which is insane.
No, exactly what you're saying. I'm trying to bring it up on the screen here if we can see it. So here's the basics of the chart, but here's that drawdown when they dumped. But it's kind of insane, frankly. No one panicked, sold, really. We saw a lot of people buying. I went in, I was wondering what's going on. I immediately went into the chats, saw that happened, knew that a lot of that transfer was going to go over to Bertha, and I bought a few $100 more just to DCA in and build my bag a little bit. But I find that interesting. But I think you're probably onto something. I mean, truth is, you can't fault those guys, because if they got in and they went heavy, swung the sledgehammer, as they say, and made a huge bag, and wanted to exit and chase something else, like, more power to them. DeFi and crypto, it's a solo sport, and if you can capture profits, you know what I mean, and take that upside, like, you'll never go broke taking profits, they say. So even though elephant may go wild here in the bull run, and that guy may go, "Ooh, I could have made more of a percentage here," truth is, if he captured profit, more power to him. And it, in a way, like you said, it actually helps the protocol a bit, which is such an interesting concept to me about how elephant works in the tokenomics.
Yeah, volatility is super healthy. And hey, congrats to that person, guy or girl, whoever you are. Thank you, because all you really did was, and anyone who sold in the last 3 months, they're just giving a new position opportunity for others, and you really just grew Bertha at the same time. So even on that chart that you got pulled up at the end of September there, before the drawdown started to happen, Bertha at that time, way back at the end of September, Bertha was only 175 trillion tokens, right? And we've withstood, double-digit millions worth of, sell pressure, and yet Bertha climbed from 175 trillion up to nearly 200 trillion right now. She's at 198 trillion. So it's only helping the ingredients for supply shock that I'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's an interesting protocol, and it's such a weird time to be in crypto, and I think a lot of people are going to be all over the place. For the most part, I think the folks that are in elephant, they're kind of have that diamond hand mentality. It's pretty much set it aside. Let's watch this thing grow and see what happens. I think they're past that. It's not I don't know. I think for most people, it's never been a quick in and out play like a daily ROI DApp or any of these miners that we play with, and gamble with. I don't think it's, for the most part, the average investor doesn't have that same mentality as with those. So I just see a lot of people accumulating and trying to see what's going to happen. I mean, the majority of sales that I've noticed that have happened in this, it's a lot of, they're just the bigger sales. These guys have made the bag. They want to cash out. They want to chase something. And so you end up getting a larger drawdown, and then a bunch of little guys buying up and DCAing in. So interesting flow, but I'm excited to see what happens over here. Like maybe in the next 120 to 180 days, kind of that time frame.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with what I'm going to be sharing with, I'm going to be looking at the previous times that we've actually gone on these parabolic runs. What's kind of interesting too is we first did it back in 2022. That was the one that just caught everybody by storm before, the flash loan occurred. But really, that taught us something. Like, what mixture of ingredients got us to that first parabolic run? And that was in 2022. Then fast forward to 2023, we did it again, a second parabolic run for a second year in a row. And when you look at the ingredients, there's two that go into the supply shock that causes the parabolic runs. And those ingredients are simple. It's a very large sized Bertha in token count mixed with a draining of the LPs that the marketplace holds, the liquidity pairs. So when you combine those two factors, you get, what we're going to see, what I believe, not financial advice, in 2024 for the third parabolic run for a third year in a row. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that'd be major. Well, let me bring my screen off and allow you to throw yours up, because I think best case scenario, I think for the folks watching, would be to have you kind of talk us through those steps like you were just talking about. What are the ingredients that led us up? What's been happening over the last couple months, and what we're looking for over the next few months that are out in front of us?
Yeah, man. Happy to share. So probably best to start with the elephant token itself. And I've got a pie chart, once you pull it up, that really just shows the breakdown of this fixed supply token. So just as a reminder for people, the elephant token is the backbone to literally everything at Elephant Money. And you've got a 1 quadrillion supply, or 1,000 trillion tokens. Some people like to hear it that way. And half of that 1,000 trillion is already locked up in the graveyard, right? It's going to be 50% that's always held in that smart contract. And then via reflections, it's going to go up to 51% before it does a rebalancing event and takes that 1% difference and puts it over into the BNB LP. So actually, do I not have my screen share going? My bad.
Not yet.
Let me see. All right, there we go.
Here we go. Let me add it.
Give that a try. Yeah, there we go. So so on this pie chart you see on the right half, that's the graveyard I was just mentioning. But what that essentially leaves of the 1,000 trillion tokens is the other half. What's happening with the other 500 trillion tokens, right? And it's simply broke down into 3 categories. You've got the marketplace, which is the LPs. So that's denoted by this peach color right here on the chart. And then you've got the herd, which is all the human participants like yourself and I. And then you've got Bertha. Now, this, I'm just going to hit the play button. But this is the January 1st of 2023. And little by little, you're just going to kind of see how that 500 trillion has been bouncing around between Bertha, the LPs, and the herd. But notable in green, and these colors will flip around in orientation here, but Bertha's growing. Look, she's got 145 trillion here, 155 trillion. This green just keeps on growing. And that is the central idea behind everything that keeps it running. So even though up until the end of September, Bertha had 175 trillion. I mean, look at her now. She's at 198.2 trillion tokens as we speak. And her all-time high ever was 212 trillion tokens before the flash loan over a year and a half ago. So she's like 7% lower than where she was at all-time high. So she's spitting distance away from getting there. And then we just got to drain the LPs. And then that supply shock protocol is going to kick in. It's going to be nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's amazing. Can't believe it's up to 198. That's wild.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. So, speaking of the token, I'll show one other thing. This is something I threw together when I'm talking about we're aiming for 3 years back to back to back on supply shock. Let's take a look at just some of the figures of what Bertha was and what the LPs were at the time of these supply shock. So in 2022, right here, we had a large sized Bertha at 212 trillion, like I mentioned. But then you had the LPs, and here's the magic number. The LPs were below 100 trillion tokens. So when you had that mixture, you got that first parabolic run. Okay. So large Bertha, low LP count, check. Then we had the flash loan, drained Bertha of everything, and we had to rebuild, not launch a version 2, and we had to put governance contracts that protected Bertha, and everything was watertight going forward. But we had to still nurse Bertha back to health. And even during this second parabolic run, Bertha was in a hobbled position, really. She was still at 174 trillion, but the herd collectively dropped it lower than 100 trillion. We were down to 84 trillion tokens, and we still felt the beginnings of that second parabolic run. I'm not going to say it was as big as the first one, but man, we felt the rumblings. We saw it coming, right?
Still pretty solid, yeah.
Still pretty solid. And now, where does that leave us for 2024? Are we going to supply shock again? To which I say, you bet. And it's going to look a lot like the first time around, because Bertha's already in position. She's big right now. She has all that token under her belt. So the LPs, even though they're currently sitting at 131 trillion tokens, it's not going to be very long before we drain this below 100 again. And then you're going to have 2 green check marks, just like the first time around, but this time with everything watertight. So this thing's really going to fly when these ingredients come together one more time,
Yeah, that's looking good. What would you, I know, no financial advice, if you could if you could give me your best guess on what kind of time frame you think, range, what quarter do you think this will hit?
No, I don't even know. I can't predict how soon it's gonna be in 2024, but I'm willing to bet money it's in
Inside
2024.
of 2024, yeah.
Oh, for sure. And keep in mind too, even when you look at the chart itself, with BNB, we're still the number 3 on-chain holder of BNB. BNB is gonna pop off. What if that does a 3x elephant price? 3x's essentially. So
Yeah.
we're going to be riding the coattails of BNB, and in the meantime still be working on that supply shocking mechanism that is elephant money anyway, as people mint NFTs or do whatever. Because I'll show this other chart too, but really when you compare elephant token to the rest of the world, even despite the drawdown, we're still on top.
Yeah.
Like we're still on top of Bitcoin and Apple when it comes to price appreciation. So for the last 2 years with BNB doing what it's doing with the dark cloud, we still outpaced BNB. And even though our supply shock recently has kind of been unwound a little bit, we're following what BNB is doing. But before long, we're going to leapfrog again and outpace BNB. So we'll be supply shocking on top of its pump. It's going to be fireworks in 2024. So
yeah,
really cool.
I've got this theory that outside of the tokenomics, which are going to be the exponential pump, I've got a theory that this will do extremely well in the bull run, just because of its previous longevity. People are going to look at it and say, okay, hey, this has had a few major pumps. It's still around. It's such a big holder of BNB. So it's a major player in the game. And it's going to be popping up on all their token alerts and different things like that. I think this is going to get bought up just out of pure hype. When people say, okay, what tokens am I looking for that are attached to the chains that I like, whatever, and people are picking up tokens here and there outside of the tokenomics or them even looking into that. I think Elephant's going to get bought up in the hype, just in the bull run all by itself, which of course will be helpful.
Yeah.
And I see, like you said, I mean, I think who knows exactly what BNB is going to do, but I would be blown away if it did 2x. And then I think a 3x is a really just conservative, solid number that we could see, it push to, maybe by the end of the year, or early next year for sure. And so obviously that will help Elephant a ton. I think a lot more people are going to get behind BNB. And like you said, the dark cloud has been a big challenge for BNB and CZ and everything. A lot of people have a love-hate relationship with him. He's so amazing, but also, as the crypto world does, sometimes you got to do some things behind the scenes. So, but now that that's shifted off and BNB's, I guess, more regulated in a way that some would consider it being safer, I think it has, like you said, a really bright future going forward.
Oh, yeah, man. I agree with that assessment 100% because, I'm still blown away at the fact that when we did the first parabolic run, this is while BNB was, I think, at $430 per coin. Okay. Right. And for us to then double top high basically on the USD value here, while BNB coin was 50% cheaper. Mm-hmm. Remember, for the longest string, it was sitting at like $215 dollars. And yet we still did that. And that's just because the protocol gobbles up so much of that BNB to become the number 3 holder. A year and a half ago, we were hoping to get into the top 10. We were like number 13, and we just climbed the ranks, and we're holding steadfast, bouncing between number 2 and 3 positions. So this accumulation, that's happening right now is just going to lead us to another parabolic run. With each time we do it, we land at a higher floor than before. We pumped way back here, landed down here, pumped up, forced distribution with the flash loan here, but it was still a higher floor. And then, pumped again, and then we're going to establish a new floor. So what's the third and fourth run's going to look like? The chart's going to be down here. We pump up, land at a new floor here, pump up again, land at a new floor here. It's just going to come in cycles and waves. It's going to be nice, though.
Yeah.
So one other thing I'll show you as far as value capture that's happening too. So this chart put together by Crypto Stew shows in yellow Bertha's token count, and you can you can see it's just, for the last forever, it just grows linearly in yellow, right? But because of that supply shock squeeze that I had mentioned, when you think of that pie chart, when these tokens land in user hands or even Bertha's hands, it's that squeeze, that dollar value in blue that's shown right here. This is what is the magic behind elephant money. So even with the recent drawdowns, you can still see Bertha's retained value quite well if you consider it. And her token count just keeps growing over time, so it's only going to keep squeezing that supply shock up, which is also evident by the math. So not the bored people, but my friend Elephant Money Herd had given me this Bertha money multiplier that I like to kind of just demonstrate what happens here. But with current price of BNB, this is like a week old right now, but if you brought in $1,000 into the ecosystem, whether this came through futures or minting NFTs, because both of those functions buys Elephant for Bertha, or if you just buy the Elephant token and you get the fee collection there, $1,000 hits these LPs based on the Elephant pooled and the BNB pooled. But essentially, the price per Elephant token goes from this number, 0.27839, and that little bit of price appreciation from 1,000 turns it into 0.27841. You see how the 39 turned to a 41? That tiny incremental price appreciation that is then spread out across Bertha's token count gives her a dollar gain of $6,000. So remember, $1,000 came in, but Bertha went up 6x that. And we may have mentioned this before when we last talked, but this is the same thing that happens with Elon Musk. He has so many shares of Tesla that if the Tesla price goes up $1, Elon Musk's bag goes up like $1 billion. It's whale economics, right? That price appreciation. So that's what's happening with Bertha. And the bigger she gets, the more that this money multiplier just really grows. And it's evident here. But basically, as Bertha gets bigger in token count, the amount of X's that she's turning that value capture into and hodling it, most importantly, hodling it. She doesn't dump it, but it grows with her bag size, those whale economics. So that's kind of the central heart to everything in Elephant Money that I hope people have a deeper understanding of, so they can see that this isn't just your average token. This isn't something that just like pump and dumps or whatever. Like, you have to remember, the Elephant Treasury Bertha is that number one whale that doesn't dump on you. This is the missing ingredient that doesn't exist at Bitcoin or Ethereum or Bonk on Solana. That's just adoption, purely adoption. They don't have value capture. That's the key at Elephant Money. So,
Definitely. Yeah, I love that analogy. We have discussed that before about Elon Musk or anybody who's got a company and they have so many shares. Yeah, small changes in the share price is what fluctuates their net worth so much, and that's why they pump out all these headlines like, Elon Musk lost $30 billion today, making him now the second richest man in the world or whatever, just because those fluctuations, small fluctuations in the asset price, is what swings their shares and makes a major difference. But it's crazy to see it on a scale like this for a protocol you can get into and make that big of an impact for, like you said, like $1,000.
Yeah, for sure. So, I just hope everyone just remembers that the Elephant token is the foundational and, in my opinion, the coolest part of the ecosystem. It's nearly 3 years old, coming in 2 months now, and we're still incredibly early with the deep liquidity of over $70 million locked, and a price adjusted Bitcoin comparison of the equivalent $12.84 Bitcoin. That's how early that we actually are, even on Elephant token right now. So there's huge upside to this, huge upside, especially with the bull run around the corner. Oh man.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about. I told you earlier that I'm just accumulating a lot of stuff right now. Like, I feel like, financial advice, like we said, but I feel like this is the last opportunity to scrape some stuff together. So every pullback I'm seeing, I'm taking as a good opportunity to snag some more. I'm quite sure that the big boys in the institutional capital are loving these little pullbacks so they can soak up some additional assets, because there's going to be a point where a lot of people are priced out of a lot of these investments, and I want to make sure that I've accumulated as much as possible before then. So this is my time to scrape together as much good stuff as possible, and I'm definitely still DCAing into Elephant.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Smart play, DCA. Not everyone just like dumps $5,000 into their 401k and just like lets it ride. Like, people are always contributing to their stuff. Like, if you're taking investments and portfolio building seriously, you got to do like you're doing, diversify and DCA when you see opportunities. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been going well. Like I said, when that pullback happened, with the whale selling, I just took that as an opportunity to snag some more. We had a major red day in the market today, and so it was a good opportunity for me to snag a couple more things. What I'm doing is, anytime I've got something sitting in a stable coin and then I see a major pullback, I shift it over into that asset, and I just always make sure I've got some dry powder in the form of a stable coin. So that's at least my general strategy for trying to pick stuff up on the cheap. And then I let it sit in those assets, whether it's Pulse or Elephant or whatever, and I just hang on to it. I'm really interested in to see what happens by the end of the year.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And speaking of like being early, like not only is it a great positioning time for Elephant token itself, but if I could jump over to the NFTs briefly, we're in round 2 right now, and these are 2 BNB a pop right now. And so, what happens when BNB actually doubles in price? 2 BNB isn't going to be $600 anymore to get an NFT. It's going to be $1,200. It's going to be tough. But these NFTs are nice. I don't know how much. I don't remember what we went over before, but I like to liken it to real estate, just because every 10,000 mints, this floor price doubles. So in round 3, this 2 BNB jumps to 4 BNB. And then round 4 after that, it goes from 4 BNB to 8 BNB. So if you bought NFTs like a plot of land, you would hope that it appreciates in value over time, which it does. It does. And so, my NFT value of 35,000 right here, this is going to double in addition to whatever BNB coin price does. And, on that plot of land, I'm collecting rent. And in this case, it's, in the form of Elephant token. So, which we already know has a really good future ahead of it for price appreciation. So yeah, that's the best way to think of the NFTs. And, you can get them for 2 BNB right now, or on the marketplace, you'll usually find that they don't last too long, but you can get these for 10% discount at 1.8 BNB.
Yeah, I picked up a few of them. You've been DCAing hard into those because you had a bunch. Now you're up to 58. That's
Yeah. I've been DCAing them, man. I always keep my eye on this marketplace, and if I can snag up a deal, I'm there.
Yeah, I haven't messed with the marketplace at all, so that's a good tip, because I might have to check that out and get myself a discount, because I want to build those up too. And we did talk in length about those on the last AMA, and that's basically my strategy. Try to go a little heavier into Elephant, so I've got that base, but then also buy up these NFTs. I'm not sure why they called them unlimited, but I can assume it's because the amount it can produce is unlimited. It just produces forever, and they're just kicking together passive income. And then
that's exactly what it is, man. You technically can mint an unlimited amount, but every 10,000, the floor price doubles. So right now, round 1 was 10,000 NFTs. So that means this 14,000 number means that we've sold, 4,300 in round 2. So when this turns to 20, that means that we enter the next round. Yeah. And what's really cool is, just like I showed on that one graphic, but Bertha's growth in yellow doesn't stop growing. So she's always paying out a 1% APR divvied out across those NFT holders. So right now you have 12,000 NFTs that are actually staked, taking a slice of that 1% APR. Well, eventually these are going to get so priced out, whether BNB coin price goes up so high or the floor price to mint is so high that this staked number is going to slow down, but Bertha is going to keep growing. Elephant price is going to keep growing. So this APR, you can imagine, can be above 100% or higher. It's just going to keep ballooning up. So yeah, it's a good time to position now.
Interesting concept, but that does make a lot of sense. And it will, I just feel like it's not going to take that long, because say we get into the bull run, people are going to start to get pumped about crypto again. You're going to jump into at least the next tier fairly easily. You know what I mean? You're going to get another 6,000 or whatever purchased, which is going to bump you to the next tier. Then 4 BNB, even 4 BNB already, at $1,200, $1,300 at current prices, can imagine, a nice pump in BNB. They're going to start to be $2,000 a pop. One more tier and they become completely unachievable for a lot of people. You're going to be dropping $10,000 to get an NFT, and for a lot of people that's not achievable. So
yeah,
there is a point where no more really are probably going to be minted for the most part, and then the current NFT holders are going to be just raking it in, including yourself with the 300 you got in there right now.
Yeah, man. So it's a really good exposure mechanism for BNB. Really, if anyone's bullish on BNB coin itself, yeah, having these NFTs, having the elephant token, that's ultimately the way to be positioned in this ecosystem. And, again, remember that Bertha gets fed all 100% of the value coming in to be minted. All of that buys elephant token and goes into Bertha. Like, that's value capture right there. So it's
for sure
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Man. Every time I get on with you and I see your numbers in here staked, it makes me feel like I need to go pick up another 1 or 2 NFTs. I swear last time you were at like 30, you added like another 28 or so.
Yeah. I've been collecting them, man. Like, I know the APR isn't juicy at all, but man, I believe in the long term of this. It's really honestly going to look a lot like this chart. Like back when Elephant launched in May 4th, 2021. Look at the flat zone right here, man.
Yeah,
everyone was just like, why am I holding this token? I'm not getting reflections. This makes no sense. Up until it did, right?
Yeah.
And the value proposition couldn't be seen early on, but it made sense a lot later. Even with this zoomed out chart, the trend line is still one direction overall. So NFTs will have a similar trajectory.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's a good long-term play.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So no, any other questions on NFTs or the token?
Nope. Well, one more. So I've always been curious. What is the upside for the rare NFTs? The more rare ones. Secondary market sales, or do you get a little extra out of them?
No, unless, I know a couple of people that are selling the NFTs over the counter just because, for the consumer, it's great. Hey, I get a 10% discount, but the seller, on top of this 10% discount that's baked in, Bertha gets a 30% royalty on that sale too. So for example, if someone bought in round 1 and they sell right now, they're actually only walking away with 1.26 BNB. It's still up, and with BNB price going up, hey, that's fantastic. But really, you want to get them in the early rounds so that when this is round 4 and they do cost 8 BNB, even with the 10% discount plus a 30% royalty, you're still raking in a profit in BNB. So unless you do it over the counter, you don't have to use this marketplace. You can just go into the Discord or wherever. There's several Telegram groups that talk about this, but you can sell them over the counter and get more bang for your buck too.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what about the rarity? What's the difference with the rare ones and the not so rare ones? I don't think I've got any that are particularly rare.
I don't think that'll really come into play until way later, when this is like a behemoth of a protocol with 500,000 users and stuff. But right now, in the niche form that we're in, the rarity is just it's a combination of like the hue, saturation, and luminosity, and it just kind of gives you a rarity score based on how many other colors like this fell in that bucket, and you have a more rare one than them. I don't think too many people pay attention to this rarity score yet, but I think in the future it'll come in handy. Really, the only one that people are aiming for when they mint fresh for 2BNB is to get the black series, because as it stands, the only perk for landing a black NFT is that you get into future Elephant Money conventions free of charge.
Cool.
Or little special things. If we, like, for example, in June of this year, Nashville Bitcoin event, Bank Teller's going there himself. He will have an Elephant Money booth, and he's going to throw in some sort of perk for if you got a black NFT holder. You know, hey, you get to party with me in the VIP lounge. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be, but he's going to throw in a little perk. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Sounds good. I was just always curious about that. I've been stacking them up and wondering if I get a rare one, if I'm going to get something special with that, but that's cool.
No. And I think one day, I think this is just the first version of the staking for NFTs, but we could very well see, if you have a black NFT, you might get a little juicy APR bump on top of that just because you have that black. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll see.
Very cool. Anyway. All right, so NFTs, we got them. I'm happy that you told me about the marketplace, because I feel like I can pick up some extra ones for a little bit cheaper on there. NFTs, I feel like we're covered. Feeling good about it. Latest mints. All right, what do you want to talk about next?
Yeah, no, I mean, really, you know, the main pillars at this ecosystem before we wrap up are just the three: the unlimited NFTs we just reviewed, the elephant token, the backbone to everything, and then you still got futures, which is the annuity style contract here at Elephant Money. And all three of these, every one of them, has a mechanism of feeding Bertha and making sure this green slice of the pie keeps on growing. So with the NFTs, 100% of the value minted goes into Bertha. 10% fee collection on the token itself, part of that goes into Bertha. And then with futures, 90% of all incoming deposits buys elephant token immediately and stuffs it into Bertha. So no matter the menu item you're looking at, it always feeds back into Bertha, channeling that economic energy. So right now, when it comes to futures, you know, just as a refresher, you have an annuity style contract that locks your capital. So this 72,000 right now, if I wanted to pull it all, I can't. Okay. But I grow this locked balance, and it effectively grows my available rewards that do accrue. Now, this used to be BUSD in and out. Now it is BNB in and out. So depending on the BNB price at the time, it will still take $200 worth of BNB to compound. So if I threw in 200 right now, my value goes up 200 and it rolls in my 643. And this is cash accounted for. This does not fluctuate with BNB. BNB price only affects the in and out, right? So if I pulled this out, if I instead hit claim on the 643, I will get $643 worth of BNB. That BNB coin price makes sense. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, because he moved away from BUSD and wanted to kind of stave off any future regulatory stuff that could come from the SEC sequel in future years, they might come back and be like, hey, you're offering a static 0.5%. We don't like that. You need to shut it down. I mean, who knows what they're going to say?
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. So he made a recent update with version 7 to where the BUSD buffer pool is now changed into a BNB reserve pool. So this fluctuates with BNB price. And relative to the daily liabilities, which, you know, this number isn't how much comes out a day. This is the potential maximum at 0.5% that would come out if 100% claimed. But this relationship dictates the daily yield. So right now, even though futures started out at a static 0.5%, we needed a metric that really is dependent on the health of the ecosystem. And with all of the, the trillionaire sellers and whatnot, you know, elephant price is down, which means that Bertha's dollar value is down. You know, this used to be $100 million. Now she's down to 53. Her token count's going up, but her dollar value isn't. So that health metric keeps everybody in check right here. And It's a group rate. There's, some sticking point with some people because, they love their 0.5%. But at the end of the day, it's all about protecting Bertha and avoiding regulatory scrutiny. And we have one mission, and we know that, and that is to drain the elephant token LPs. Once we get back to the ingredients for supply shock, everything's going to flywheel, and futures is going to go back to 0.5%. So that's some of the recent stuff that's come up with the updates. There is a version 8 coming out in a matter of weeks, if not sooner, and it's going to add a little 0.2% bonus. So for the folks that are still wanting to grow their accounts, and you deposit $200 worth of BNB, you will see a 0.2% bonus on top of this group rate. So what that effectively puts you at 0.35% that you're still growing your bag. And I think there's going to be like a 45-day decay. So, if you're compounding weekly or every 2 weeks or once a month, you're still going to capture a good bit of that bonus before it decays off by the 45th day. And yeah, you can still, grow your bag. But, I'm of the belief that this daily yield, this group rate, is going to still grow once we get that flywheel of that third parabolic run going. And still, even at 0.15, I think people are so spoiled too, but you still can't find this in TradFi.
No,
and it's still a 55% APR. And there's one more graphic that BlackBerry guy, a community member, shout out, he put together. But even at the rates right here, and if anyone wanted to deposit, but if you're weekly compounding or monthly compounding, yeah, I mean, you're still making high digit APY, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, major returns, way better than what you get in traditional finance. And if you're in something that you're feeling comfortable with, plus when you're considering the fact that, the protocol is so heavily tied to BNB, you've got additional upside across the board. I mean, there's a lot worse places you could be. You get a lot of the upside here without having to take all the same risks as you do in a lot of the DeFi space.
Yeah, absolutely. And as people are making gains across all of DeFi, whichever blockchain you find your profits from, I mean, a good place to park them besides the elephant token and NFTs is this futures account. This is a long-term investment model. Like, people need to have like a 5-year outlook for having this grow to a $1 million balance and do their thing. And just remember that when the elephant token does pop off and this Bertha dollar value does pop off in the future, there is a sweep. So this right now, you see this 1 billion elephant tokens right here. Yeah, anyone can call this contract, and this dollar amount of $279 will top off the BNB reserve, which closes the gap to the daily liabilities, and that will increase this daily yield. So when you think of the flywheel effect of Bertha growing in token count, getting huge dollar value back, that sweep that feeds this BNB reserve is going to be gargantuan enough to where it's going to raise this group rate back up,
Yeah, it'll be major at volume for sure.
Yeah, so it's all coming. People just need to be patient and keep the perspective that, hey, elephant money is 3 years old. We are the last man standing. We are the king of the mountain. Okay. And, people can't lose sight of that. This token and the tokenomics just have way too much going on for it to let this fail. So yeah, man. But I think that's all I had for futures and anything else, unless you got another question.
No, that was it. I like talking through that, because I know we talked through that on our last AMA, but it's kind of how I view it. Is really, it's a 3-tiered system. The I don't know, speculative play, if you call it, is just to first start off by dumping money into the elephant token.
Yes.
Just sit in your wallet and hang on. You don't really need to do anything with it. So if you don't want to be actively involved, you can just do that. Next step would be, okay, let's think a little bit more into the future, the long-term strategy, something that's going to really make sense over the next couple of years. And it's going to be like that real estate play where you're buying those NFTs and just posting them. That's really the next move. And again, really, you don't have to do anything. So you just, buy them, stake them, and then just sit there. So if you're more into the kind of passive plays and you just want to jump in here and check once a month and know that it's going to be there, that's that's kind of the right play. Like I even, it's been a while now, I don't know, 6 months or so. I got my dad into Elephant Money, and because I wanted him to get into something he wasn't going to have to be compounding or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, just check it every couple weeks and, see how things are going, but don't let it bug you. Dude, so that type of play.
I'm glad you said that, because honestly, at the end of the day, in my opinion, how I think of the future of Elephant Money is the fact that we know that DeFi is going to go global, but you got to think of grandma and you got to think of mom and dad. Are they really going to be, bridging from blockchain to chase, meme coins and stuff? They want a nice set it and forget it, an easy thing with longevity, resilience, deep liquidity. And you have that one-stop shop at Elephant Money. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, totally. That's kind of how I feel. There's a few other things that I'd like to get my pops into and have them look at, but it requires bridging to different chains and doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I'm kind of like, I know it's going to be a little too much for him. And I want him to be able to actually do it and click the buttons, feel good about it. Check, you know what I mean? And so, so I just bring him into things here or there. He throws a couple grand here, a couple grand there. But I know this one's nice and easy for him. And in the long term, again, we're going into a bull run, and if it pops off, you could turn a couple grand into a nice chunk of change. And my pop's retired last year, so he's really in a position where, you know what I mean, if some of these external plays that he's doing do really well for him, then it's some nice retirement money.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I don't got anything else, and people on the screen can see however you want to divvy up your portfolio at this one-stop shop, but you've got a lot of menu items to choose from. And if you want that aggressive growth, just have more elephant token, help drain those LPs and get that third parabolic run kicking.
Yeah, I like this little infographic. Whoever created it, shout out to them.
Yeah,
that's solid. I like right now I'm just in this diamond hands sector. I've got a bunch of elephant and then a few NFTs.
Then you're set.
At some point I'm going to break down to this aggressive growth. Anything I do in crypto, for the most part, like I'm leaning more aggressive growth. Like I've got a bunch of stuff in traditional finance, and so that'll be safe. I'm not too worried about it, but I go more aggressive because this is where I'm looking to hit those bull runs and make major cash and know when to pull it. So I'll move from diamond hands down to aggressive growth. I like that.
Yeah, man. No, that's awesome, dude. And Scott, you've been a trooper, bro. And I know you see the vision of Elephant Money, and I know, you're excited about it, man. The tokenomics, the math, they just do not lie. And that's the cool thing about that. People can argue rhetoric all they want, but the numbers, they don't lie.
Yeah. Can't argue that. Like you said, 3 years. I mean, there's been some good protocols that have lasted a long time, and eventually they just can't hang on, but they don't have the same tokenomics as something like this. This one's 3 years in. I think it's undeniable that this is, one of the longest lasting protocols ever built in DeFi, if not the longest lasting one now, as far as, from a protocol perspective and not an individual token. But I think we're going to see some great things during this bull run, and I'm stoked. And I always appreciate you coming on, because I have questions and everyone else does too. And so the way you explain it is just, you're really well-rounded and well-articulated when it comes to the ecosystem. So it's always super helpful for us. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I love to lend this talent to help people understand it. And people can always just DM me, man. I always make myself available. I'm not one of those YouTubers that is just like inaccessible or behind a paywall. Like I'm just there. Just hit me up, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. I'll jump into the chats too. What I'll do is we'll get this up, make sure we get it out to people, and if they have any questions, I'll loop you in. But again, we'll plan to do this here again soon. I know we're going to see some interesting stuff in crypto over the next 60 days. Bitcoin ETF got approved. We may be on the verge of maybe seeing something similar in Ethereum in the coming months. So the crypto market as a whole is going to be interesting. And I just blinked and January is almost over. So that April 17th halving date is coming up pretty soon. So I expect really volatile and interesting things to happen in crypto over the next like 2 to 3 months. And then I expect the second half of the year to be kind of
Bonkers.
wild. Yeah, it's just go bonkers. Nobody's going to know what to do with themselves. Certain things won't do as well as people are expecting. Other things will go insane. I just think it's going to be a really interesting start to a bull market, different than we've seen in the past, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too, brother. And I appreciate the opportunity and the platform. If you put your referral link out there, folks, just understand that sign up under Scott, because instead of paying 10% tax, or sorry, fee on the token, you can get it for 8.5% by buying it from the website right through Scott. So yeah, man, appreciate your time, brother, as always.
Yeah, thanks for plugging me, man. Well, thank you for coming on, and appreciate everyone who tunes in and watches the content. Please smash the like and get it out there. More people should see this. So thanks again, SK, and we'll do this again soon.
All right, brother. Take care.
Appreciate you, my man.